Is Christine set up yet, Barbie?
I'm not sure. I can go check though.
Barbie, we're
With
ready
Lola?
to start.
But you've got a couple of minutes till you have to speak.
Nope, she's up first with Ethan.
Oh, I thought it was Ethan. I'm sorry, with the land.
Yeah, we ready to go? All right. Welcome, everyone. It's great to be together virtually. First, I'll introduce myself and welcome everyone in my ancestors' indigenous language. Sheikh Pachwe, Ink Nash Waniksha, Mask Maskia Aya, Ku Shiaputumki, Ethan Livermore, Wash Nash Yakama Kinnick. In Yakama Ichishkin, I just said, good afternoon. My name is Little Dipper and my English name is Ethan Livermore. I am from the Yakama Nation. Welcome everybody. Barbie.
Welcome. Hello. So my name is Barbara Weber. I also go by Barbie. I am a resident of Hazelnut Grove, and I'm here today to talk about why we need to save this village. Most important being is that it has served as a place of sanctuary and also stability for people for over 5 years. And it has to be said that there's a lot of people that live in houses or live in their houses that haven't been in their house for as long. And also to just talk about the misinformation that has been from the media is that there's actually only 5 people out of the 15 that are here that are moving into the new village. The other people don't have not secured another place to go. You know, we also want to talk about just the fact that the Hazelnut Grove and other villages like it are the model that is being used all over the city now. And I don't think it's right for us to be used as a model and then for us to be shut down. You know, you take away locations for many people to have stability when you remove a village out of the equation.
Great, Barbie. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And as we move through our agenda, I'd like, before we get into some history, to offer a brief land acknowledgement, because we in this campaign know that before we do any work, we have to first recognize whose land we are doing that work on. And here in the state that we call Oregon, in the city that we call Portland, those people look like the Chinook and Multnomah people who have come before us. And we need to recognize the senseless and inhumane acts of genocide and oppression that those people have fallen victim to in the history of our country. But we also need to recognize that there's still lots of work to be done. Work that looks like being in a relationship, work that looks like listening to those people, and work that looks like continuing to recognize over and over again whose land we work and live on, and who those original stewards are. Folks like my ancestors from the Yakima Nation, folks like my cousins who live on the Warm Springs Reservation, brothers, sisters, and family members that have come before us and who will come after us. So we bring their power and presence into this space as we hear some history from our good friend, Peggy.
Afternoon, everyone. Hazelnut Grove began with a group of activists who were espousing the rights of the houseless, asking the city to provide safe camping for the houseless. Receiving no answers, they decided to act for themselves and got together with other houseless folks and founded what was at first a camp. But then many community people, churches, organizations joined them and helped them structure tiny homes. The village is, first of all, self-governed. They have articles of incorporation and good neighbor agreements that they hold each other to. We have General Assembly every Saturday, most Saturdays, and work out problems that occur in the village between villagers. This is very important to people. And since I found out about them 4 years ago, I've been a neighbor up the hill trying to support them in any way. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that brief and potent history of Hazelnut Grove. Obviously, we are living in times where in order for us to be the most safe and keep our friends and loved ones safe, we can't meet in person. Today, since we're doing this over Zoom, wanting to take the health of our friends and loved ones in Hazelnut Grove into account. But that also means that we can't help take a tour and see such a beautiful, beautiful place. But in place of that, we have a virtual tour of sorts, a video that was produced a number of years ago, giving a brief overview of what life in Hazelnut Grove looks like, and we'd like to show it to you now.
Hello, Renee. Hello, welcome to Hazelnut Grove. We have our library. This library was actually the first donated building that we received. Houseless people, we got a lot of good books because you won't carry around a bad book. These are buildings number 3 and number 4 that was built by volunteers at the Rebuild Center. Now you approach the garden area, which AKA therapeutic area. That's my place.
The people at Hazelnut decided they wanted a community that was of homeless folk, houseless folk, which had no drugs and no crime.
That was our basic initial motivator, a place where it was safe and sober. We didn't want to have any forms of illegal anything going on in the camp.
Hazelnut Grove is a place where houseless or formerly houseless people can come and have a roof over their head to protect them from the elements, to provide safety, security, build social skills, to get a piece of dignity back.
My home was a gift given to me by folks that lived here that was transitioned into an apartment. So they left their home available and asked if I would like it, and I was so honored and so excited. I'm just one of many folks that just got pushed over the edge financially, and cost of living being what it is and our income being what it is. That's what put me here.
So this is my pod and baby porch that functions really well when I just want to sit outside and stare at the rain clouds, which is kind of nice. The biggest benefit that it offers is stability. If you have to sleep like what traditionally people have to outside, you have to find an overpass if it's raining. They get crowded pretty quick.
I really didn't sleep maybe 4 hours, 3 hours a night for probably 2.5 years. Thanks to Hazelnut Grove, I'm back, you know.
It seems like shelter is a basic thing that everyone would deserve, and this is just a small example of what can actually be done to accommodate that for people.
Due to the pressure of our, I think, sadly wrong neighborhood association on the city, the city has said that they will at some point sweep the camp unless they move.
The city of Portland wants to move the homeless village called Hazelnut Grove to a new location by April. Right now, it's on North Interstate in Greeley, but if this proposal goes through, it would move to a city-owned lot in the St. John's neighborhood. There are people who support the idea, but also some who are fiercely against it.
This is the city tax lot where city leaders would like to see Hazelnut Grove move to. There are people who support this idea, but the family that owns an assisted living center on this side and several homes on this side of the lot say they are adamantly against it. When we visited the existing Hazelnut Grove today, most people were at the food pantry, and those that were there didn't want to talk on camera. About 20 people live there now, but the problem is they're not legally allowed to be there.
I worry that in our new neighborhood, there will be people who object to the camp coming there.
Hopefully with the new neighbors, we can engage in a positive relationship from the outset. Some of the concerns I could foresee them having are they going to bring crime? Are they going to be bringing drugs? You know, all these negative stereotypes that everyone always has. But just being able to show them how this space itself runs, I think would assuage most of that.
Let's say we did not have Hazelnut Grove, and we who live here did not have Hazelnut Grove. What would have been our story? What would have been the tour I would have gave you? And then you get your answer if having this kind of style is better than the alternative that we've been given that it has not worked.
Basically, we want to help others that want to help themselves. We're all trying to build ourselves up and feeling that, you know, the sense we get from one another, our own accomplishments, watching others, it does a great deal for us. So just the opportunity is all we're looking for. That's it.
Fantastic. That video is a nice little peek into the daily lives and the hustle and bustle of Hazelnut Grove. It's a beautiful place, and I'm very grateful to have members of Hazelnut Grove here today to share some testimony and their thoughts. And starting us off, it's going to be our good friend Josh. I'll let Josh introduce himself. So Josh, take us away.
Yeah, hi. I'm Josh Maurice. I've been living at Hazelnut Grove since about the middle of 2017. Before that, I was living in a friend's van for a while, sleeping in a van, and then staying with another friend for quite a while, and then had the opportunity to start to get to know the people at Hazelnut Grove, hang out, help out in various ways, and then after a few weeks or months of that, actually moving into one of the houses here, and then into a second house after a few months, the one that I'm still in. Well, yeah, one of the aspects of it that has stood out to me is the opportunities for involvement, all the different ways to help out in a kind of volunteer um, capacity, both people who live here and others. I've seen um, so many people coming through and helping out, just donating their time, donating materials, resources, um, neighbors and other friends, various groups, some Christian and Jewish youth groups have done a lot with the construction and other tasks. I've Okay, I think I'm back. My internet might have cut out there.
Yep, we can see you now, Josh.
Yeah, so I've been here since the middle of 2017, about 3.5 years. For 2 years now, I've had a full-time job. And so, of course, having this housing has been really important in as far as that goes. I have a child that I support, and that being the case, I'm financially really no closer to being able to afford housing for myself, which seems to go to a big part of the point of the importance of communities like this. Just as a illustration, one of my coworkers, definitely the person I worked most closely with at the security company I work for about 1.5 years. Well, it was a place where I was assigned for about 1.5 years. This guy was also a full-time worker there, and he lived and still lives, I think, in his van. So it's very possible a lot of people are homeless and work full-time. So these other types of innovative, non-traditional solutions are really, really important. Still rare as of now. So I think Hazelnut Grove in particular has been a really important example of that, and leader in this tiny home movement and movement of self-organized communities. I thought I'd say something about the new village in St. John's. I'm one of the people who signed up to move there. It works out well for me in terms of the location, a lot of things about the place, the size of the house, the amenities that they have there. I don't really like using propane to heat the place, so it's going to be a much warmer place for me there. But it's everybody's situation is different. You know, that is not really nearly as suitable. It's not a suitable solution for everyone. There are other people who are couples and have larger house here and like to be together. There are people who have dogs, and this is a really wonderful area for dogs to live. The location doesn't work out as well for everyone. You know, we're kind of out of the way out there in St. John's. And there's an autonomy here, and the way there's a self-organized structure, and you know, people like Barbie has said, people are functioning adults and they have a home and they have a life here, and it works for them. So it makes sense to allow them to be here. And in general, for those of us who are going to move elsewhere, that leaves these houses in Hazelnut Grove vacant for additional people to move in, you know. And there are thousands and thousands, I think, of homeless people in Portland who are sleeping in tents and under bridges and so on. And it would be really counterproductive, to say the least, in my view, to remove housing that is totally suitable for those people. It'd be a huge blessing for so many people to live here. Well, there's a lot more to say about it, but I would just maybe close out by saying that the city is talking about being really interested in supporting housing that is safe and respectful and innovative. And Hazelnut Grove really fits that bill very much on all 3 points.
Great. Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate your words, and thank you for all your work making Hazelnut Grove a great place to be. Next, we'll have another resident of the Grove, Barbie. We'll hear from her, and I'll let her introduce herself a little bit more. Barbie?
Well, as I said earlier, my name is Barbara Weber, and I live in Hazelnut Grove. Me and my husband have been here since last February, so we're right on our anniversary of a year. And I will just say that we started suffering housing insecurity years ago and ended up being on the streets for 5 consecutive years. And I'm in my community, I'm a actually pretty successful person. I co-founded a jobs program a low barrier jobs program, and I've been an advocate for houseless issues staunchly since 2017. What Hazelnut Grove has done for me is that I suffer from a brain injury that is a lesion in my speech centers, and I've had many goals to recover from that. And one of this is to go back into the workforce 100%. And by the end of the year, I'll be able to do that. But I have to say that the stability that Hazelnut Grove offered me is the reason that I'm able to do that. Once I wasn't fighting the day in and day out survival of living on the sidewalks or living in the woods or living in a vehicle, I could settle down and focus. And I had a place, to have a little personality, to have knickknacks. My husband redid the entire porch. We've created a life here. And as a situation, we don't say that this situation is for everybody. This is a self-governed village, and that also means that we don't depend on social services here. And as we do advocate for people who ever needs any help, it's even if somebody needed services here, we support each other in going out and getting help. And this community here is basically what kind of saved my life near the end of that last 5 years. It was getting tougher and tougher. And then in the midst of the pandemic, having a place to safely to be, I am so incredibly grateful that I got here right before the beginning of that. And as we're still in an extreme case right now, and we've lost so many lives in the United States, I don't see how shutting the village down helps the matter at all. The St. John's location can only house 19 people, and Do Good has said that the priority is going to be for people that are suffering homelessness in St. John's. Well, if we all moved here from that village, we wouldn't have any room for anybody else. And so you're taking away very needed beds for not just for us personally, but for the entire community of Portland. And so I don't think that, giving us or moving us is going to help in any way, shape, or form. Ethan, I'll give it back to you.
Great, thank you, Barb. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Barbie over the past couple of years, and she continues to impress me, and she's very dear. So thanks a ton, Barbie. Next, we have a video testimony of a former resident named Meg. Meg was featured in the little tour video that we had seen earlier, but she was nice enough to record a brief message for us for our agenda today. So we'll throw that up on the screen so everyone can enjoy it.
Meg, tell me what Hazelnut Grove means in your life to you.
It means that I feel honored to have been a part of a group of folks that set out to create an alternative to homelessness. So the village was created, and we were able to build our own places with the generosity of a lot of donations and good supportive people, and knowing that we were not having to live on the street and all the hazards that go with it, that we were in a place that was safe and was warm, and it was a great place to start community. And we a lot of us were good friends to begin with, so when we went there, we just continued to build on the friendship, and the community started from there, and along with many other folks that came. And I just enjoyed being a part of something that seemed to have an answer to a big problem that so many thousands suffer from, and we need help. So that's what it
meant. Meg was a resident of Hazelnut Grove, and had the opportunity to move elsewhere, but obviously the impact that Hazelnut has had on Meg still is a very strong part of her identity, and is still benefiting her today. That sense of strong community that she continued to talk about has such a profound impact, and doesn't everybody deserve to have a community like that? As we heard from testimony and stories and thoughts from Barbie and Josh, Hazelnut Grove is a place that needs to stay. It is a reason that people have had so much stability and so much joy in their lives. They've been able to have a safe place to live, to have a roof over their heads. And I think that has been very apparent from hearing from 3 residents and former residents. But there's also a lot of support for Hazelnut Grove in the community. So with us today, we have 2 members of the Overlook neighborhood, Peter and Sam. And as I throw it over to them, I invite them to introduce themselves, and we're very eager and grateful that they're here. So I'll throw it over to them.
Thank you, Ethan. My name is Peter Parks. I am a resident for 27 years in Overlook neighborhood. I have been involved with Hazelnut Grove as a supporter for about 4 years, I suppose, out of their 5-6 year existence. And I just want to make a very quick statement, which is actually a repeat of what has been said before. but that is that I believe that Hazelnut Grove is one of the best locations in Portland for people who have been houseless. So just to highlight that one statement. Then I'd like to say that there have been a number of people in Overlook who have supported the Grove and other houseless people, people at Hazelnut Grove are not houseless. We have a group called the Overlook Houseless Outreach Committee, and they have specifically supported Hazelnut Grove, but also houseless people in the neighborhood. And that group has actually expanded now to about 40 members. And we have, as I say, we've been working for a number of years. And Sam, I'd like to introduce Sam, who is one of the newer members, but has become very active. And Sam, go for it.
Thank you, Peter. As Peter said, my name is Sam. The Hazelnut Grove Villagers are my neighbors. I moved to Overlook only about 2 years ago. So as Barbie said, this means that many, if not all of the villagers have lived in their homes in Overlook longer than I've been in mine. And I want to be very clear. As Peter said, there are many people in Overlook who support Hazelnut Grove, and I personally oppose all efforts by the city to make decisions on behalf of my neighbors. The city's planned action is both in direct opposition to my neighbors' expressed wishes, and it also doesn't show care. The city is well aware of what decommissioning will do to Hazelnut Grove residents' lives, and to actively dismantle existing housing stability is never okay, and especially unconscionable in Portland right now. The city has a real opportunity here to approach my neighbors with actual care, which always begins with listening. The Hazelnut Grove villagers have been very, very clear about their needs, and I want to follow their example. I need the city, rather than to destroy my neighbors' homes, instead to trust that my neighbors know their own needs best, and to listen to and help facilitate the meeting of these needs. Thank you so much.
Sam, Peter, thank you both so much for sharing your words with us today. And I think it really is a testament to what Hazelnut Grove means to so many people who are both living there and who are living out into in the community. And it's a shame that city officials are choosing to ignore the simple fact that Hazelnut Grove matters and that Hazelnut Grove should stay, because it does more benefit for our friends and family who need that community more than it hurts the community of Portland. If anything, Hazelnut Grove should be viewed as a shining example of what a cooperative community, not only within the village, but outside of the village, how we can begin to build bridges between folks who are living in tiny home villages and folks who are living in the neighborhoods. And I think having Peter and Sam here today, echoing concerns of dehumanizing language and mistreatment of our neighbors, just really appreciate that message. And Peter and Sam, thank you again. Well, we've heard from residents, we've heard from neighbors, and I really need to tell you guys about our petition. The residents of Hazelnut Grove have written and put out a petition that has been circulating for the past couple of weeks, where we are collecting signatures both online and in person. We have friends and organizers out on the street collecting physical signatures. You can find the petition online, either at the Oregon Poor People's Campaign Facebook page, find us on the Action Network. Perhaps there's a link going out in the chat. However you are able to find it, I encourage you all to go look at it, read it, and sign it as a way of saying, City Hall, City of Portland, Ted Wheeler, Dan Ryan, take your hands off of our friends' homes. Our petition already is coming up on 3,000 signatures, 2,863 to be exact, I've just been told. And it's been a really, really powerful experience, although I wish we weren't in this situation of having to circulate a petition. But being able to see some of the comments that our friends and loved ones have electronically sent us has been both empowering. It has stoked hope and joy, but it also has been a way for me to share in some of the people's grief over the loss, the potential loss of Hazelnut Grove, the threat that Hazelnut Grove is under. One of these comments says, all our neighbors deserve safe housing and dignity. Displacement and sweeps hurt our community, especially during a pandemic. Another one reads this: as a current renter, I look forward to someday buying a home in Portland, and Overlook is an area I would love to live in. I'd much rather prefer the comfort of my home. It cut off, I'm sorry. But there are just a number, several and hundreds of these comments raving support for Hazelnut Grove, saying how dehumanizing and cruel it is to displace people from their homes in the middle of the winter, in the middle of a pandemic, and in the middle of a housing crisis. It is clear that our supporters who are signing this petition know that being poor is not a crime, and living in a tiny cabin should be no different from living in any other home. Having that option and having that decision to be in a community like that is something that the city needs to honor. I think we can agree on that. Next week, we are really, really excited to say that we will be physically delivering this petition to officials at City Hall. We have worked so hard organizing our friends and family to sign this petition, to show their support. And now we are taking that step and the step after and the step after to show City Hall that we mean business. Again, that will be next week, Monday, February 4th, 1 p.m. at City Hall. A group of Hazelnut Grove supporters in mass will come and show their physical support to deliver the petition. So please, if you haven't already, please, please, please go look at that petition, go sign that petition, tell your friends to sign the petition. February 1st on Monday, we will be delivering that petition to City Hall. So share it with your friends, family, your neighbor, person at the grocery store, have your dog sign it. Please, please distribute the petition. It means a lot. Now to wrap up our agenda here, I'll shoot it over to Barbie to tell us a little bit about what's next for Hazelnut Grove. What happens after our time together today? Barbie?
Thank you, Ethan. You did a great job moderating this conversation. I guess the next thing is that we go and we present the petition to the mayor and to Dan Ryan, and you'll be getting more details about that. And the day-to-day living continues to go on here at Hazelnut Grove. The day-to-day living continues here at Hazelnut Grove, and we continue to hope that our houses are not going to be taken from us. It sucks that we couldn't have this press conference in person to where you could see what the life like is generally like here. Although we are Sorry, you guys, I keep getting interrupted in the background. Well, we continue to fight, and we continue to pray that we don't have to worry about these things, especially during a pandemic. But even further than that, I just want to say that, you know, individual governed villages are a very important piece of what's going to continue to, they're a very important piece in solving the housing crisis. The one thing that's different about Hazelnut Grove from the one villages that are being put up around the city is that this is what you call an intentional community. People have to come in and say that they want to be here and meet people. And so there's an element of safety that is even more so with this community. We're very close here. We do lots of things together, and we also appreciate our personal autonomy. So I want to thank everybody for coming, and hopefully you all join us on the 1st when we deliver this petition. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a ton, Barbie. Well, that is it for our agenda. But before we wrap up today, we wanted to give everyone a chance to ask any questions to any of our panelists. And we would love to be able to provide answers to those questions. In fact, we have already been receiving a few questions throughout the program, and lots of questions about safety, the safety of the village. It apparently has been an issue that has been brought up quite a bit as the campaign has been going on. But first, a question that I think is really, really key, and I want to offer this to any of our panelists. Who do we and the residents see as really key partner organizations? Who are the people who have been our allies that have been key in helping us accomplish our goal of winning? And again, any of our panelists can answer this. Maybe Josh or Barbie, if there's been any groups that have been really key in helping us achieve our goal, we would love to hear a little bit about them.
Well, we have several people that have endorsed the petition, and I'm hoping I'm not forgetting anybody, but I'll start with who I know. Sisters of the Road has endorsed it. Western Regional Advocacy Project has endorsed it. Trash for Peace has endorsed it. Ground Score Association has endorsed it. A Gather Make Shelter has endorsed it. Hygiene for All has endorsed it. And I'm not sure if I'm catching everybody. And as far as the safety concerns, we recognize that there may be an issue, but there's been no testing that has been done. And from what I'm to understand, some of the safety concerns are not any worse than other places in the city. As far as the fire concern, we've had no fire issues here in the whole time the village has been here. They've worked with the fire marshal to cut the fire lines, and even this year they went even above that and did the city's part of the work on clearing all the brush from the village up to Greeley on the bike path, which is usually done by the city, but it was done by us this year. And of course, I also want to say thank you to the Poor People's Campaign for coming alongside of us to do this.
Yeah, and I can add that historically, the Rebuilding Center, Temple Beth Israel, the Villages Coalition, and many other community groups have put food, labor, and building materials and dirt for good soil for the gardens into helping make the village what it is today. So when I hear a reporter tell me, "Oh, it looks like people really want the village," it doesn't have any support, I point to the village and say they would not be here without the support of many, many people.
Great, thank you for that, Peggy. And again, on the petition website, There is a full and ever evolving list of key organizations that have endorsed our efforts to save Hazelnut Grove. Sorry, Peter, I may have cut you off there. I just wanted to make sure that folks knew where the list was.
Yeah, I just like to say that one of the arguments that is used often is that it's the landslide area, and I like to point to the West Hills, where some of the houses there are essentially falling into the roads below, and yet the city has not told them that they cannot have their houses there. So there's a real difference between where people who have very little power in the city want to live, and those who have a lot of power, the people with money. So there's a lot of specious arguments, and arguments like there being hazardous waste in the soil. There's been no testing. This is just rumor. There's a lot of rumors that go around. Rumors also that people in the Grove have caused problems in the neighborhood, or that they attract other people there, are specious and have no founding in fact.
Yeah, in fact, the Guardian mentioned the Hazelnut Grove specifically in an article, I think a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, which pointed out that crime rates in the Overlook neighborhood had decreased sharply after Hazelnut came.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to comment too, if I can. My name is Becca, and I am a neighbor. I have Overlook. I've lived in Overlook for about 5 years. And what you hear a lot out here is that we need to demolish Hazelnut Grove and put up a park instead, because the land is too dangerous for people to live. Now, the irony of a place being too dangerous for people to live so that we need to make it a public space for children instead is just ludicrous. It just simply does not make sense. There is an established community there that is thriving. And if we're really concerned, we should do soil samples and show that we care. But like Barbie said, there's been no fires within the Grove. There have been no major landslide risks any more than there would be in the West Hills, like Peter said. And also, it's notable that Hazelnut Grove has not had any cases of coronavirus. This is an intentional community that is safe for people right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add a little bit to what she just said too, is that if you look at the ridge behind Overlook, or excuse me, behind Hazelnut Grove, there's actually only one house behind us. And the hillside is also supporting Interstate Avenue, the Max, and any heavy thing that comes down. So if this part here was really that dangerous, would they have all that weight bearing down on this? I mean, it would be safe for even the bike path if that was the case, but that isn't the case. Or at least they haven't offered any proof to say that it is. But I just want everybody to understand, there's not a neighborhood above us. All that's above us is Interstate Avenue and the Max, and then above that is a hospital. Other than that, there's only one residential house that's above us. So you really can't even see us from any of the Overlook neighborhoods.
Thanks, Barbie. I think that's a really, really key point to dial in there. So thanks for including that. I, like many of our friends and family, have been paying very close attention to what the media has been saying and including about Hazelnut Grove over the past couple of days and the past week. And one thing that's sort of, and this was a question that we noticed in the chat, we noticed that there have been some inconsistencies in media reporting about how many Hazelnut Grove residents are staying in the Grove or want to stay in the Grove, and how many residents are actually leaving the Grove for another place of habitation. So I'm wondering, maybe Barbie or Josh, Can you help us clear up some of this misinformation, or help us sort of clarify this muddy water about how many folks are staying and how many folks are leaving the Grove?
We just did a count, and it seems about a third are planning to have concrete plans right now for other residences. About 5 out of 15.
Okay, so five people are planning on leaving the Grove. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so a number much lower than what most outlets are actually reporting. So I'm glad, Josh, thank you for clearing that up for us. And we're on that sort of note, we do want to start wrapping up here pretty soon, but I think a question that a lot of folks are asking right now, Barbie, Josh, whoever's able to answer it, what can the broader Portland community do to support Hazelnut Grove and communities like it, whether it be tiny home villages or other forms of communal living for housed and unhoused folks? What can the broader Portland community do, in your opinion, to support communities like that?
Well, I can answer. Many housed people are giving support to people who live in villages and people who live in camps right now. That's a real important step to take. In with respect to the village, please start calling Ted Wheeler and Dan Ryan and telling them, I'm a citizen of your city and I want you to let these other citizens live in peace in the homes that they've struggled to create and have much support for creating. And if you're like me, someone who loves to hold the sign, please come down to the City Hall on Monday, February 1st at 1 p.m. and grab a sign and encircle the City Hall so that we can let the whole community know that unhoused people, tiny housed people, and their allies all want to see self-governance be allowed to continue. We don't see people not living in traditional houses as pawns to be shipped around and pushed around by a system that doesn't accord them full humanity. Yep.
Thank you, Peggy.
You can also continue to sign the petition and send the petition to as many people as you know, and to grow that number as much as we can by February 1st. And like Peggy said, when we do have exact plans for, keep on the lookout for exact plans about Monday, February 1st, and be there.
Great. Thank you, Barbie. And Barbie, I actually have one last question for you. And I really want to ask you this question to close out our day today. Barbie, you've told me the differences between a self-governed village and a social service managed village. You and I have talked about that quite a bit. And I just want you to really make it clear to everyone watching today, what are the differences between a self-governed village like Hazelnut Grove and one managed by social services? Go ahead and take us to school on that.
Well, even in the self-governed villages, there's layers of self-governance. Okay, I'll be more specific. Like Hazelnut Grove is ran by a community agreements, and it's also what you call an intentional community. There's a way the way to get into the Grove is you have to come to so many GAs and then be voted in by the members. and then you're on a probationary period after that. There are other self-governed model villages that are like kind of have overseers. So a lot of the people that are living in the villages have say so over like certain things, but not everything. So there's the Hazelnut Grove, there's like full autonomy, and then you have ones that are kind of the new model that is coming out right now. Is they say that they're self-governed, and they in some ways are, but they're still a layer of somebody who makes it the ultimate decision. We're here, we make the ultimate decision. There's been a lot of things said about, and then about social service villages have wraparound, what they call wraparound services. They offer you mental health. They offer you, drug and alcohol counseling. They offer you other kinds of services kind of in that arena. And I can say emphatically that that's not everybody needs wraparound services. And the president of the Overlook Neighborhood Association has touted over and over again how it's awful that we don't have wraparound services. Well, we're not in need of that. Although we do recognize that some people do need other kinds of services. It's just not provided in this type of setting. And that's why there needs to be more housing options, more permanent housing options. And to me, and to a lot of the people that live here, this is permanent housing option. I don't want to ever live in an apartment. This is the way that feels comfortable for me. Not only do I have this support of the community, which is different than living in an apartment. It's like a little neighborhood here. It's like anybody else's neighborhood. We go through, it's just kind of in a microcosm of that. But self-govern, it's basically, we have the autonomy to make the decisions about who lives here, what is who does security, what happens if somebody doesn't do their shift, and and we organize together to get the jobs and the chores done, which obviously in other villages that responsibility goes to whatever provider is responsible for that. All the mowing of the grass and the chopping of the firewood and the getting of the food is all done by the villagers for themselves. So, and coming from being outside and surviving to coming to here, this is very empowering because I appreciate when people donate things. I'm not trying to say that I don't, but there's a difference when you make an impact in your own survival than it is when somebody's helping you. And from my perspective, it's done me a whole but much more good for me to make decisions on my own and to care for myself. And so, that's kind of the difference, if that's good there.
I think that is more than good, Barbie. That is fantastic. Such an incredible and powerful message of self-governance and making something for us, by us, according to our own needs. Thank you for answering that question, Barbie. And folks, that's going to do it for our agenda today. Although we may not have been able to see your bright and smiling, shiny faces today, it was an absolute pleasure and joy to feel your presence this afternoon. Again, please go sign the petition. Please share the petition. And if you have any other questions or ideas, or just want to tell us that we're doing a great job and send love over to Hazelnut Grove, please shoot us an email over at oregon@poorpeoplescampaign.com. Again, the petition link should be in the chat there. And that'll do it. Thank you all for giving us an hour of your time, and be well. Remember that you are loved, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.